Hello, my beautiful ladies. Welcome back to Daily Mojo. I am back after a long time. Did you miss me? Today, I am diving into a treasure trove of cinematic gems that celebrate love in all its forms. This is part 2 of my collection discussing 10 movies that prominently feature mature characters, women who are middle-aged or older, moving beyond the typical youthful portrayals often seen in media. This list has been requested multiple times, and I can see you guys love it, seeing the response. And I thought it is right time I added more movies to your watch list. There is more exciting content on the way, so if this piques your interest, consider subscribing and sharing my video with other lady lovers. At the heart of AWOL is Joey, a young woman longing for escape from her dead-end town. Pressured by her mother to enlist in the military, Joey's life takes an unexpected turn when she meets Raina, a married woman with 2 kids and a reputation for trouble. Against the warnings of friends and family, Joey plunges into a passionate affair with Raina, finding in her a reason to dream bigger and want more from life. The film doesn't shy away from the complexities of women in love in a conservative environment. Joey is out, modern, and hopeful, yearning for a genuine relationship with Raina, who clings to her facade for security. Their dynamic is fraught with risk and longing. Joey's desire to support Raina even pushes her closer to the military path she once resisted, while Raina's inability to break free from her marriage leaves both women suspended between hope and heartbreak. AWOL's strength lies in its raw depiction of first love's recklessness and the emotional gamble of trusting someone with your heart. While the film is technically competent and confidently directed, it sometimes falters by relying too heavily on archetypes and stereotypes, making the characters feel more like products of their environment than fully realized individuals. Still, the movie's exploration of risk, trust, and the search for belonging within the context of socioeconomic struggle gives it a thematic richness that resonates, even if the ending is more bittersweet than triumphant. Cracks plunges us into the cloistered world of a 1930s British boarding school, where desire, obsession, and power simmer beneath the surface. Ava Green is mesmerizing as Miss G, the enigmatic teacher who inspires her girls' diving team with tales of adventure and a rebellious disregard for convention. Her mantra, "The most important thing in life is desire," sets the tone for a story where longing and jealousy spiral out of control. The film's emotional core is a tangled triangle. D, the once favored student, is fiercely devoted to Miss G, while the arrival of Fiamma, a poised Spanish newcomer, shifts the balance. Fiamma's indifference to Miss G's attention only fuels the teacher's unhealthy fixation, and D's jealousy leaves Fiamma isolated and vulnerable. As Miss G's obsession deepens, the atmosphere grows increasingly tense and unsettling, culminating in a final act that is both harrowing and unforgettable. Cracks is a masterclass in psychological drama, with outstanding performances from Juno Temple, Maria Valverde, and especially Ava Green, who brings depth and nuance to Miss G's descent into obsession. The film's slow burn pacing may test some viewers' patience, as much of the suspense and emotional payoff is reserved for the final third. While some might wish for a more melodramatic approach, the film's restraint ultimately amplifies its impact, making the climax all the more chilling. If you're drawn to moody, atmospheric women dramas that linger in the spaces between heartbreak and desire, Clementine offers a quietly unsettling meditation on the cycles of love and loss. The film opens with Karen, played with understated vulnerability by Odmara Marrero, reeling from a breakup with her older partner, D. In a desperate bid for closure, or perhaps just to feel something, Karen breaks into Dee's secluded lake house, her actions a mix of rebellion and longing. But solitude is not in the cards. Enter Lana, played by Sydney Sweeney, a beguiling and mysterious young woman whose arrival upends Karen's plans for isolation. Lana's search for her lost dog quickly morphs into a flirtatious dance, with both women circling each other, projecting needs and insecurities. Lana's ambition to become an actress and her youthful bravado contrast with Karen's uncertainty. But both are clearly acting out roles, sometimes for each other and sometimes for themselves. The dynamic between Karen and Lana is fraught with tension, desire, and a palpable sense of projection. Karen, still smarting from being the younger woman in her last relationship, now finds herself stepping into the older woman role with Lana. The film leaves you with more questions than answers, but perhaps that's the point. Heartbreak is rarely tidy, and desire is never simple. Allure is not your typical WLW romance. It's a dark, psychologically charged drama anchored by a fearless performance from Evan Rachel Wood. She plays Laura, a woman haunted by trauma and mental illness, whose life takes a disturbing turn when she meets Eva, played by Julia Sarah Stone, a sheltered teenager yearning for escape. Their relationship begins with an uneasy camaraderie, vodka-spiked orange juice, late-night conversations, and the thrill of rebellion. But Laura's emotional instability quickly transforms affection into obsession. What starts as a refuge for Eva soon becomes a gilded cage, as Laura's possessiveness and volatility escalate. The film doesn't shy away from depicting the toxic, codependent spiral that ensnares both women, and it's often uncomfortable to watch. Laura's behavior is a study in arrested development. She lashes out with adolescent petulance, directs her anger at inappropriate targets, and ultimately tries to control Eva through manipulation and confinement. The film's unflinching portrayal of emotional and psychological abuse is its strength and its challenge. Allure is not an easy watch, and it deliberately avoids easy answers or neat resolutions. The real revelation here is Julia Sarah Stone, whose performance as Eva is both raw and heartbreakingly authentic. She captures the confusion, vulnerability, and resilience of a teenager caught in the throes of an unhealthy attachment, making Eva's journey as compelling as it is tragic. At the heart of Concussion is Abby, played with captivating subtlety by Robin Weigert. She's a suburban mom whose life with her wife Kate, played by Julie Fane Lawrence, and their son is comfortable but utterly devoid of spark. A freak accident, a baseball to the head courtesy of her son, serves as the catalyst for Abby's existential shakeup. Suddenly, the cracks in her marriage become impossible to ignore. Intimacy has vanished, and while Abby craves connection, Kate seems content with a passionless routine. On a whim, Abby seeks out a hooker, hoping to reignite something within herself. The encounter is lackluster, but it awakens a dormant desire for risk and self-discovery. Soon, Abby reinvents herself as Eleanor, transforming one of her Manhattan investment properties into a clandestine haven where she meets a string of female clients, mostly young women, each seeking connection and understanding in their own way. What sets Concussion apart is its refusal to sensationalize Abby's journey. Her double life isn't played for cheap thrills. Instead, the film explores the emotional and psychological fallout of her choices. Robin Weigert's performance is a revelation, layered, unpredictable, and deeply human. She brings a restless energy to Abby, capturing the tension between domestic obligation and personal fulfillment. Le Rempart des Béguines, also known as Tamara and Helene, is a French-Belgium drama. At the heart of the film is Helene, a young woman reeling from her mother's death and emotionally abandoned by her politically ambitious father. Into this void steps Tamara, a Russian émigré with a magnetic presence and a taste for the unconventional. Tamara is not just her father's mistress, she's a force of nature, equal parts muse and manipulator, whose bohemian lifestyle stands in stark contrast to the stifling provincialism of their Belgian town. Helene's fascination with Tamara is immediate and all-consuming. What begins as curiosity quickly deepens into a romantic, secretive relationship, with Tamara guiding Helene through a world of art, love, and rebellion against societal norms. Yet, beneath the surface, Tamara's charisma is laced with manipulation. She wields her authority with a subtle cruelty, drawing Helene into a dynamic that blurs the line between mentorship and exploitation. Helene's coming of age is marked by confusion, longing, and the pain of loving someone who is ultimately unattainable. The affair is doomed from the start, and its end is as inevitable as it is heartbreaking. Tamara's decision to marry Helene's father for security, not love, forces Helene to confront the reality of their relationship and the pain at its core. This painful revelation becomes a catalyst for Helene's emotional growth, pushing her toward a more nuanced understanding of herself and her desires. The story revolves around Rebecca Westridge, played by Barbara Niven, a wealthy, middle-aged wife and mother who, despite her outwardly perfect life, has never experienced fulfillment. After confiding in her two women best friends about her lifelong lack of achieving pleasure, Rebecca is encouraged to seek out a discreet escort service, an act that sets her on a journey of self-discovery. Enter Paris, played by Jessica Clarke, a young, artistic escort with her own emotional scars. Their initial meetings are awkward and tentative, but as Rebecca's curiosity and courage grow, so does the connection between the two women. What begins as a transactional arrangement soon blossoms into a deeply emotional and passionate relationship, with Paris helping Rebecca experience happiness and pleasure she never thought possible. The film deftly avoids the usual cliches. Rebecca's journey is not about leaving her husband for a new identity, but about exploring what it means to be fully alive, honest, and vulnerable. The film also doesn't shy away from life's harsher realities, as Rebecca's newfound joy is threatened by the revelation of a terminal illness. Barbara Niven delivers a nuanced, deeply felt performance as Rebecca, capturing the vulnerability and strength of a woman rediscovering herself. Jessica Clarke brings both sensuality and emotional depth to Paris, making their chemistry believable and affecting. Annabelle, played with captivating confidence by Erin Kelly, is anything but your typical rebellious teen. She's out, unapologetic, and carries herself with a maturity that belies her years. Annabelle's boldness is matched only by her emotional intelligence, making her pursuit of her poetry teacher, Simone Bradley, played by Diane Guidry, feel less like adolescent infatuation and more like a meeting of equals, at least emotionally. Simone, on the other hand, is the embodiment of restraint. She's buttoned up, principled, and tethered to her faith and the rules of her profession. What sets Loving Annabelle apart from other films with similar themes is its relentless effort to avoid the predatory teacher trope. The narrative goes out of its way to ensure Annabelle is the pursuer, emphasizing her agency and maturity at every turn. This doesn't erase the gray area, but it does shift the power dynamic enough to make the story feel less exploitative and more like a genuine, if ill-fated, love story. The film spends much of its runtime building tension, with Annabelle gently but persistently breaking down Simone's defenses. When the relationship finally turns physical, the moment is handled with sensitivity and emotional weight, never feeling gratuitous or sensationalized. Of course, secrets can't stay buried forever. When their relationship is discovered, the fallout is swift and severe. Loving Annabelle is not without its flaws or controversy, but it's a film that treats its characters with empathy and its subject matter with surprising delicacy. If there's a modern film that has earned its place in the cinematic canon, it's Carol. At the heart of the film is the magnetic connection between Carol, played by Cate Blanchett, an elegant woman navigating a painful divorce, and Therese Belivet, played by Rooney Mara, a young shopgirl and aspiring photographer. Blanchett's Carol is all poise and longing, while Mara's Therese radiates a quiet intensity and curiosity. Their chemistry is electric, yet restrained, each glance and gesture heavy with meaning, every word exchanged layered with subtext. Carol and Therese's relationship unfolds in whispers and coded glances, a necessity in a world that polices their every move. As Carol's feelings for Therese deepen, she's forced to make impossible choices, most heartbreakingly risking her relationship with her daughter to live authentically. The film never shies away from the pain and complexity of these decisions, but it also refuses to make tragedy the only outcome. Instead, Carol is a story of hope and courage about two women who dare to reach for happiness in a world that would deny it to them. Both Blanchett and Mara deliver performances of astounding depth, earning widespread acclaim for their portrayals. Jackie's attempt at a fresh start is quickly complicated when she catches the eye of Catherine Stark, played by Allison M.T., a charismatic psychology professor with a reputation for getting involved with her students. Their connection is immediate and electric, but also tinged with an undeniable power imbalance. Catherine's allure is as much about her intellect and worldliness as it is about her willingness to break the rules. And Jackie, still searching for her own identity, finds herself drawn into a secretive, intoxicating affair. What sets Bloomington apart is its self-awareness. The film never tries to romanticize the significant age gap or the gray areas of the student-teacher relationship. Instead, it leans into the discomfort, using it to explore themes of desire and the sometimes blurry boundaries between mentorship and manipulation. The dynamic between Jackie and Catherine often feels as much about surrogate motherhood as it does about romance, adding a layer of psychological complexity that's rare in WLW cinema. Catherine, meanwhile, is forced to confront her own insecurities about aging and the unsustainability of their affair. The tension between them is palpable. Jackie is determined to make things work, while Catherine's doubts cast a long shadow over their future. It's a coming-of-age tale that understands growth is often messy, and that sometimes the most important lessons come from the relationships that challenge us the most. And there you have it, my ladies. If your heart craves stories that spotlight the rich, complex love lives of mature women, I hope this collection has introduced you to a few cinematic gems that resonate with you. Whether you're seeking romance, drama, or something a little more daring, there's a world of WLW films out there, each one offering a unique perspective on love, longing, and self-discovery. If you have any favorite films or hidden treasures that center mature women's relationships, I'd love to hear about them. Please share your recommendations and help grow this community of passionate viewers. There are always more stories to discover, so if this topic speaks to you, consider sticking around for future reviews and discussions. Until we meet again, here's to all the lovers of women. Keep celebrating love in every form at every age. Every story matters, and every voice deserves to be heard.